안녕하세요. 오늘은 제가 1월 1일부터 5일까지 AI 캠프에서 진행한 5-Day Challenge for Agentic AI Study Group에서 AI Tribe 팀이 발표한 사례를 공유하려고 합니다. 이 팀은 네트워킹 활동 중에 받은 명함과 링크드인 정보를 AI 에이전트를 활용해서 효율적으로 관리할 수 있는 어플리케이션을 개발을 했는데요. 이들이 발표에서 사용한 구글 슬라이드와 소스코드는 모두 공개되어 있습니다. 관련 정보는 이 비디오의 설명란에 공유하도록 하겠습니다. AI 캠프는 무료 스터디 그룹, 해커톤 그리고 다양한 AI 관련 행사를 개최하는 플랫폼인데요. 현재 15개국 50개 도시에 로컬 커뮤니티가 있다고 합니다. 한국에는 아직 없지만 온라인 행사는 누구나 자유롭게 참여할 수 있어요. 저는 시애틀에 살면서 이런 AI 관련 행사에 참여하며 공부도 하고 네트워킹도 하고 있습니다. 이 과정에서 얻은 유익한 정보를 계속해서 여러분과 공유할까 합니다. 특히 한국에 계신 분들이 미국의 최신 AI 트렌드를 이해하는 데 조금이라도 도움이 되길 바라겠습니다. 이런 영상이 유익하다고 판단이 되시면 좋아요와 구독 부탁드립니다. 그럼 오늘 내용을 시작하도록 하겠습니다.
Okay, so let's see. First off, first off, thank you, Rasheed, and the community administrators Ada and Chushin. So we kind of read the materials on day one, and the goal was kind of figure out what was a use case we could rally around that would make a compelling agent with multiple steps, not just an LLM. And so to that end, we started to form a team because we had different levels of skill sets and capabilities and backgrounds and all that other stuff. And so this is the team. Shout out to Mark and Michael and Henry and Robert. And I already mentioned Swapnil's going to do the sharing from his side with regards to the LLM. So let's talk about the use case. So has anybody ever gone to an event before and done networking and come back with like a bunch of these? And maybe you also had some LinkedIn connections on here, and you might have even had some paper. So the goal of doing all this is you gather all these cards so that you can follow up and either figure out, is there a connection point for a job? Is there a connection point for some opportunity for work? Or maybe some consulting, something that's going to yield to some personal cash flow. And it's difficult if you have a full-time job to follow up on all of these. Like if you went to an event like Health or CES or DevCon, you might get hundreds of these. And so you can only follow up with so many, and so it decreases the probability. So the question was, could we build an agent that did all those tasks of like figuring out who I met with, what was the point of interaction, what do we have in common? Because if we can write a message to someone that has something in common, it increases the probability of a response, which increases the chance of an engagement, which increases the chance of maybe yielding some work. And so we set out to basically build a networking agent that could intake input about the user and the contact and the event, and then formulate some messages that would go through LinkedIn and through email to prompt a response. So our first day 0, was about storming, forming, and norming. We basically brainstormed a bunch of ideas for things we could do, consolidated on this idea of a networking agent, and then asked the question like, what if an agent could gather all this information, write the emails, and send it to the person of interest. And so then we kind of broke that down into like, what are the main steps of all that? And what would it need to be able to do? And then we went into builder mode, right? So I think there's this thing over on the right is we broke it down into chunks. So we're a team, it's 5 days, and it would take a lot for one person to achieve all the different steps of this. So we broke it down into parts. And this is kind of hard to see in the thing, but the first part is, have an agent do a task, which is to fetch who I am from LinkedIn and who the contact is from LinkedIn, gather their raw data. The second step is to go get data about the event. And we kind of aligned as a team on what's the data format. And there was a lot of great work done in using, and I haven't fully caffeinated this morning. I there's some construct, pedantic. Well, we aligned on using pedantic structures so that the data format of what we were receiving would be consistent in terms of how it was handled from task to task by the agent. So step two is gather information about the event. Step three is a similarities engine where you look at the two files and the event and you try and find out what's the most recent thing these two people have in common, whether it's their education or their job role or somebody they both might know. And then third is compose an introduction. And in the case of LinkedIn, there's a constraint of 300 characters. And in the case of an email, you have a little bit more liberty to embellish some of the skills or something you might have in common. And then the last step was, basically trigger an API to write an email and compose the LinkedIn and send it. We did discuss maybe inserting a control mechanism. So instead of having the agent just autopilot through and send whatever it came up with, maybe it says, here's what I'm about to do. Would you like me to proceed? So this would be a great point right before sending the messages to kind of have a user oversight what the agent had written before it sends. That way you don't create a professional connection that might be inappropriate. And then the hope was that, hey, you build more professional connections and hopefully it increases the probability of some type of opportunity. So that's the basic workflow of how this worked. And I'll hand it over to Swapnil to kind of talk through the structure and the processing that we constructed for the agent. So Swapnil, I hand it over to you.
Yeah. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm Swapnil Chhatre, and I will be giving a quick demo of this networking agent. So I've pulled our code into IDX environment, which we have been using. And so let me give you all a quick walkthrough of some essential code which we have developed. So this is the main py file, which is the entry point for our application. And we are using Crew AI library, which was suggested as part of the resources as part of the study plan. So we are using Crew AI, and we went through the Crew AI course. We found it very easy to understand. And this library provides a very good number of classes, functions, which can be used to design multi-agent systems. So yeah, we had some good experience with Crew AI library. And so as I mentioned, this is the main file, and we are using OpenAI's GPT-4o mini model. It's a rather new model with a strong performance, and it has proved to be very efficient. So as Ralph mentioned, we have a few inputs which we have to give to the model. So there is my LinkedIn URL. So let's say I'm the person who wants to make the applications or the connections. So this is where we'll input my URL. Then the contact person, the one with whom I want to connect. So we have to add his or her contact profile here. And we also have to add the events URL. So let's say we met virtually at AICamp's study challenge. So we can add that. Or we met at Google I/O event. So we can add that URL as well. Then we invoke this method, which is the crew method, along with these inputs. So another main file is the crew.py file, which we are using. This is where we have assembled all the agents. So we have 5 agents, out of which 2 are scraper agents, which are used for scraping all the entire profile from LinkedIn. So we have one for my profile, one for the contacts profile. Then we have event researcher, the one which will go to the events page and get all the information. Then we have profile analyzer. So as Ralph mentioned, so we need to find some similarities between my profile and the contacts profile in order to make a custom LinkedIn message or a custom mail. So this is what the profile analyzer agent is used for. And then we have a message formatter, which will get those similarities and create a message. So right now we are saving those messages in a markdown file. So this is the message folder right here, where a markdown file will be generated. And from there, you can just copy paste that message in LinkedIn. So these are the 5 agents. Then come the 5 tasks. So each agent has its own corresponding task. And at the end, this is where we are creating a crew with all the agents and all the tasks which will run in a sequential manner. So this is where the configurations are defined. So for every agent comes a role, a goal, what we want them to do, and a backstory, which is the extra prompt which we provide to the agent. So we have 5 agents and we have 5 tasks. So this every task has its own description and what the expected output is, which we want from the agent. So let's run one. All right. So before running, for now, we are using random data. So ideally, we should be able to add LinkedIn's URLs. But LinkedIn has a good amount of security limitations and access requirements. So if we want to scrape LinkedIn profiles, we need to have a more professional collaboration with LinkedIn. We need to have our developer account. We need to submit this use case to LinkedIn in order from them to approve it. And once they approve it, that's when we can access those APIs directly. So we don't have that kind of collaboration at the time, but Ralph has promised that he's going to get us those APIs. So once we have those APIs, we can use it directly. Another workaround which we can do with LLM models is LLM models have multi-model capabilities nowadays. So we can use PDFs for scraping or rather for getting user information. So let's say we get the entire LinkedIn profile of a person in a PDF format, then the LLM model can actually go through that PDF and get all the necessary information, which is education, experience, everything. So that is also one workaround possible. But obviously, the API approach is a neater approach. And yeah, we are looking forward to it. So for now, let's go with random data. So for random data, we have another PyPy, which is a LinkedIn tool. And here we have added some random data, which are first names, last names, positions, and everything. So right now, the code will get one value from each of these arrays, and it will create a completely random profile, which will obviously for both the people. So for my profile and for the contacts profile, it will create two random profiles from this data, and it will find the similarities, and the rest process, the remaining process is the same. So let's run it. So the command is crew AI to run. It takes around half a minute to 45 seconds, I guess, to run the entire thing. And it's a sequential process. It goes from one agent to another. Yeah, so till it's running, yeah, even I would like to thank all the administrators and organizers of this challenge. And it was a great experience for me. I met a bunch of good people, everyone from the team, Ralph, Shashin, Ada, Robert, Mark, and I'm definitely looking forward to work with all of you in the future. Okay. So we have started getting some output.
Maybe stretch up the output window.
Okay, yeah. Done. So this is the markdown file created. Yeah. So we have a customized LinkedIn message at the top, and we also have a follow-up email draft. So we have placeholders here, so you can just replace the person's name and add that information manually. We also have some key talking points. So once you connect with the person, you can discuss on this topic. So these are all the similarities which the model found. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And I'll hand it over back to Ralph. Thank you.
Yeah, not much to say. There's definitely room. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, but kudos to the team. Yeah, it was. We talk about challenges like we ran into. Obviously, if you're going to start pulling data from LinkedIn, you're talking about there's a policy limitation, rightfully so, and we talked about that as a team. Like, why do they do that? And then it's as a business person, you can understand why they do that. And then when you start thinking about like, okay, well, we still want that data. How are we going to get it? You're left with the classic challenge in engineering, which is like, all right, do we change the input modality so the user has to do PDFs, which means they have to do a print, and like the user experience gets a little bit ugly? Or, we found some third-party tools, but then you have to register for those tools, you have to pay for those tools. Like, so the workarounds then create more work. And in a 5-day challenge, we were just like, all right, let's just use dummy data. There's lots of places we could upgrade this, right? Besides doing multimodal, instead of just saying paste in a URL, you could just say, hey, I'm Ralph. I just met Rajiv at the AI camp. Can you send him a LinkedIn connection? And just talk and have a text to them. We talked about business cards, like take a picture of the business card and extract the data from the business card would be another upgrade. Michael had a brilliant one, which is most of what LinkedIn scrapes up from your main web page is all your background data and history, but your posts, that's more recent content. And so if we could create an agent that could go in and look at the posts that you'd made, then if we looked at my posts and the other person's posts, you could find a higher degree of similarity using more recent content. So there's a lot of different things we could do to kind of upgrade the user experience and make it more robust. But that was kind of where we ended. So that's our team, the AI tribe, formerly known as the Pink Butterflies. Anyway, it was fun working with everybody.
Awesome, guys. That was really great demo. Thanks for sharing that. Really enjoyed how you guys work with LinkedIn and solve like a real world problem with the use of LinkedIn API. Even you guys had to use static data. That was really cool.
Can you just ask a quick question about? Oh, yeah, I guess I was just curious as to what was the reason for selecting Crew.ai as the implementation, I guess, framework of choice as opposed to other frameworks?
Yeah, so there wasn't a specific reason, but so as I mentioned, it's one of the resources which was suggested as part of the study group. And so Mark initiated using Crew AI, and even and I think even Ada and Sushin went through the course. And we found it really easy to use. So they have concise or precisely defined functions where you can add agents and add tasks. So we found it easy to use, and yeah, so even we'll eventually explore into other tools as well. But for the time being, this seemed to be a good option.
I see. So you didn't kind of actively compare it with like other options like LangGraph or something like that. You just jumped into Crew.ai.
Yeah, we just jumped into it. So as I mentioned, from the looks of it, it was quite easy to understand. And yeah, that's why we went forward with it. But yeah, when it comes to scaling an application, we have to have a comparison with other libraries and everything. But that's a question for the future.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Just one added benefit, at least of Crew AI. I did not look at all the others. If you have some experience with others, I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. The thing I liked about Crew AI, though, was that it really broke the problem down in terms of the problem definition and didn't get you caught up in the coding piece of it. And so it allowed you to really focus on, at least in my opinion, what the important thing was.
이 영상이 유익하셨다면 구독과 좋아요 부탁드립니다. 감사합니다.